Hey guys, what's up? It's Sla, and today I'm bringing you another episode of Car Rides with Sla. It is Friday, July 18th, and things are going okay. I think life's okay right now, that's what I think. I think life's okay. I do. Now, I guess I'm on a roll with this topic I've been talking about, but today I guess I'm ready to see the world burn. I'm ready for it because I'm kind of tired of feeling like I'm living like every day's my last and I'm out here aware of all these things and nobody else is, and it seems like I don't get any extra credit for anything or anything like that. And I'm realizing when things get rough, I'm just going to be further right. I'm just going to be proven right, and people are going to be like, "What? How did he knew that, huh?" You know what I'm saying? I mean, when things are struggling, when things get hard, it's going to be the people who were already aware that are going to succeed. And those who never were are just going to fall further behind. Now, of course, I'm being a bit sarcastic here. I mean, I don't really want to see things crash and burn, although I have said before I do believe that's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be any kind of positive political resurrection or anything like that. It's over. It's over, guys, It's not coming back. So, yeah, pack your bags, prepare, get ready, cuz things are going downhill, and they will continue to go downhill. But no, I'm kind of joking, but it is a good point. I think for people like me, which is a small amount, who actually care and all that, I think it's going to be good for us. I think there's going to finally be some kind of a sense of judgment, and life is going to seem real and like you actually have to try, because I guess it's just not within people's cognitive abilities. I think that's the root of the issue. I think we've talked about this before, because it's not that people don't matter equally or that people don't care equally. It's that some people have a more comprehensive and complete and depth of care. Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of people struggling out there, but just because they're struggling doesn't mean they have the ability to change. Because it's not, I mean, I agree that there's systemic issues, but I also agree and acknowledge that people as individuals have issues. And a lot of those are based on society, right? They're based on environment. So I guess you could argue, yeah, it's not people's fault, but it's just, I just don't know. I mean, we've talked about this before in terms of the selfish nature of a lot of humans. I don't think most humans are like that, but I think a lot of people are. But things are really artificial. They're very artificial, and I think it's really hard for people to wrap their heads around it. I don't think anybody really knows what's going on in the same way I do. And I could get stuff wrong too. It's not, I mean, I guess I can't say like my finger's really on the pulse, but I think it has been, and I think it will be. I do. I think a lot of what I'm saying is fairly accurate. It's not anything too destructive. There's some people that have all kinds of crazy ideas. I think a lot of my ideas are grounded, because that's important. It's important to not just start going down crazy rabbit holes and thinking crazy things. some of the things I guess they could sound crazy, but it's in an attempt to be grounded. And I also think it's important when structuring a belief system to make sure it's not having a huge negative effect on your life, which is why I'm trying to say I do have concerns about AI, but I need to try to make sure that I need to try to be optimistic, because I don't know, there's no reason not to. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of it's out of my control anyway, so feeling scared about it is not helpful. But I do remember now, and I was going to look more into it, is that idea that maybe the talk show is not my path, or the interviewer is not my path, and that there's going to be a new medium that comes out that I'll be more prepared for through this. This is kind of just the training, and I think I'm okay with that. It's no slouch what I'm doing. I just don't know if this is really going to be it forever. I think there's going to be other things that come about, and they will... we're going to see a lot. We're going to see a lot change. We already have, but I think a lot of these trends will continue. We'll really have to see where we're at, where a lot of people, when a lot of younger people now become older, and what happens. But for a while, you still have residual older people having a greater influence due to there being a larger percentage of the population in older age brackets. But it's really going to be interesting moving forward. I think a lot of young people are just going to give up, or just try to be moochers or whatever. I think that's really... I don't see it. I just don't see it. Man, us youngins are tired. That's the truth. That's the truth. We're tired. But there's no reason to be, really. Obviously modern life is still... Well, a lot of it's voluntary, right? I wonder if people, if we didn't spend so much time on technology, maybe we'd have a lot more energy. A lot of this stuff could be self-inflicted. I don't even know. I mean, and of course it's societal for allowing a lot of the stuff that goes on. Like I said before, you should have technology in a way where stuff that's exploitive or parasitic just shouldn't exist. You shouldn't allow social media to be the way it is, since we know and can tangibly see the effects of it. Just don't allow it. But of course, you couldn't have that. You couldn't have a government trying to do good things, and instead, the most addictive interfaces possible are bombarded in everybody's face, and we all interact with them, and it really restricts and controls us. I feel like I've been totally all over the place this episode. I don't know that I may have had a coherent theme, but if I did, that's kind of gone. And then I don't know. I don't really know where we're at now, but I think I've just jumped around to a bunch of different topics, which I'm okay with. I'm totally okay with that, but I'm just noting it because I do want to be aware of myself. I don't want to be doing something and then not reading it right. But I don't think I always read myself correctly, honestly. I think I have a hard time figuring out how other people interpret things, because it's tricky. Because I think the way I interpret information is obviously quite different. The way I digest what I see and what I hear. So sometimes it's difficult to have the perspective. Sometimes. But here we are. Here we are. Now, what is there really to talk about? I guess it's just more of the same stuff with my idea about the furtherment of hyperpersonalization, but how that could lead to further destruction, really. It might not lead to anything good. Because even now, we're already seeing how bad things are now with hyperpersonalization. So I just don't know how much further things can go. I mean, there's always going to be rich people, and I guess they'll end up getting married or having kids. But then again, a lot of rich people actually don't have kids. I think that's part of the problem. I think if you become rich, you kind of have your source of fulfillment. Just with being rich and having access to the money. You don't really need kids. But if you're poor, your life would be quite boring. You can't really go out and do a bunch of fun stuff, so you need some kind of meaning. And I just think that's inevitably what happens when you get extremely wealthy, is that becomes your meaning. Because you're able to live at a higher standard than anybody's able to. And so that obviously affects things a lot. Because you don't have to go through the same thing that a regular person goes through. And I think that's probably why richer people don't have kids, because there's so much to do in the world if you're rich. There's just so many places to go to, activities to do. And so you don't really need kids. In the same sense as someone who's working class or poorer, there's not really much fulfillment in life. You know, you can't really do too much. You just work and come home every day. And I guess you'd want to have kids as a way to think you're really doing the right thing or getting something done. Because you can't cloud yourself in as much opulence as you could a rich person, if you were a rich person. So I think it's all interesting. I don't think I've really thought about that too much. I don't think I've always acknowledged it, but the reason why I brought that up is because I said, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that upper echelon of people who are rich or attractive, and they're probably going to still get married and have kids, but I question that because I feel like even in higher society right now, you see a lot of issues with broken families. I mean, a lot of people don't have it good. You know what I mean? There's even a lot of people who are richer, are celebrities, their parents are separated. And we're already seeing that, and I would assume that's going to increase. Now, I thought I've heard that divorce rates are actually down, but I think that's because so much less people are actually getting married. So the people who do get married that are left are already more religiously inclined to begin with, so they have a higher chance of just being that way anyway, because marriage is becoming more of a niche decision as opposed to something that was once very widespread. But it's all interesting. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's just been a mosquito buzzing around. And not that I care, but I don't particularly want to get bitten. And I think I squashed it. Because it finally landed on me after a while. I mean, I tend to be pretty mosquito immune. They don't tend to bite me. Because it's been in the car this whole time. It's this entire time it's been in the car. And it took that long for it to bite me. So, yeah, that's 15 minutes. Now, obviously you can assume he or she was a bit startled. So maybe it took them some time to calm down and hone in on biting a juicy human. But even still, I think that's pretty good. Even if, I think that's pretty good. For some reason, I don't really have too many issues with mosquitoes. Especially not as I've gotten older. But there's some people in my family that really get bitten like crazy. There's some people in my, I just don't know. I guess it's a combination of things. But yeah, I think he's dead now. Or she. He or she. I think, oh wait, I'm making that joke, but isn't that stupid? Because I thought it is the males who go out. I thought the females just stay at the pond or whatever. I know I might be getting them mixed up, but that is true. It is not a he or she. Because I know what I'm talking about. I don't know if I have the specifics correct, but I've been making that joke, and now I realize it hasn't been logically landing. Although for a lot of people it probably did, so maybe it doesn't matter. But logistically it doesn't make any sense, because I know the mosquitoes, it's only one gender that actually goes out and seeks blood. At least I think. But yeah, I guess in a way, I have to try to look at the bright side, and things will get rougher. But I think in terms of the budgeting and planning side of it, I'm going to be good. Because a lot of people are going to really be in for it. Because we're really living in such a time that makes no sense. People can really splurge hard because of a mixture of credit cards and now the buy now, pay later services. It's kind of crazy because I'm assuming even people who are relatively young can get Klarna and stuff, whereas credit was a lot more of a barrier of entry. It took me a while, it took me an entire year after doing a secure deposit to actually be able to get other credit cards. But, I guess maybe you could. I guess I could look into the age requirements. I guess I thought it was 18, but I'm not really sure. But with something like Klarna, no, maybe it also is 18. Maybe I'm being a little bit crazy right now. But I think it's still true with Klarna. There's just so much less of a barrier of entry. It's just not, you don't have this barrier. A credit card, I think, is a little bit overwhelming for people. And again, usually, if you shouldn't, you would get denied the credit card, and then you can't do anything with it. I was always confused because people said you shouldn't get a credit card if you can't handle it, and how a lot of people can't handle it. That was always just so confusing to me, because I would never feel comfortable just buying stuff on a card and then not paying it, or just paying the minimum. Is that just something people do? I don't know. But I guess it is. I guess the whole credit card thing just exploits the human brain for those who don't really understand math that well, which I guess is most people. But I never understood that. But the problem with these Affirm and Klarna is not only could you stack between the two, but things can get bad pretty fast. especially because the window is a lot less generous. With a credit card, I think you just have a month, basically, right? Your statement comes through every month, and if you don't have stuff paid off, you know, there's more accountability. Whereas Klarna is like, you buy it and then you don't have to pay anything for 2 weeks, but then everything's a lot more spread out. All the payments are a lot more spread out. So I think in some ways it's actually even less accountability than a credit card. Not to mention Klarna lets you use credit cards to pay for the Klarna payments, which is like you could get away with really pushing your spending potential then. I mean, when is all this stuff going to come crashing down? It's going to have to at some point. And I hope people are given consequences for it. I'm not really interested in the whole debt forgiveness idea. Now, there are certain circumstances I actually think it's okay. So to some extent, with medical debt, I do agree that that is a problem that needs to be looked into. Because I do think you should have to pay even a pretty high amount for if your medical bill was a preventable disease, let's say. If it was something where you endangered yourself to cause it, you should have to pay. You should have to pay probably a lot, depending on how bad it is. But, you know, in a lot of cases, the hospitals charge a lot because they try to milk out of the insurance companies. You know, they charge extra. Everything is really expensive. And I don't really think that's fair. So I do think in the realm of hospitals, I mean, something needs to get looked into, and at least a percentage of debt forgiveness should be done. But like I said, you'd have to be careful. I mean, I don't think debt forgiveness should be given to someone who's a chronic smoker. Like, I don't like that idea because, you know, yeah, I think you get what I'm saying. It just depends on how preventable the thing was. Or if somebody has a hobby of skateboarding and they fall and then get really badly hurt, and it's like, well, you don't need to skateboard, or you could have been safer. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, if you're doing stuff that really endangers you, I just don't I don't get it. You know, I don't think society needs to cover you. I think you should be able to cover your own bills at that point. But that's just my opinion. Now, when it comes to student loan debt, I guess a similar argument could be made where it's, yeah, I mean, a lot of the college stuff is unrealistically costly. And it's unfairly costly. You know, the textbooks, they just charge a ludicrous amount for. But since I didn't go to college, I guess I'm not super interested in that idea, because I do kind of want people to have to pay for what they did and be accountable for that. But I guess on a broader level, it does sort of make sense to have education be more of a focus in society, like to the point where I do think it sort of makes sense how European countries have it, where it's more covered. You know, you don't have to pay to go to college. I think that makes sense fundamentally. I guess where I disagree with it is the accessibility. I think that the people who actually go to college, it should be more gatekept and vetted. And that way it's not so much of a tax overhead. So if you only had, let's say, 20% of the population go to college, then I think that makes more sense, because I think that's usually what ends up happening. I mean, people go to college and then there's not even jobs for them to do. And so I think if it was limited, and also it wasn't based on money, like I think I do actually agree with that. Basing school off money really doesn't make any sense to me, because and this probably happens. This I'm sure this happens where wealthier people, their kids can go to college even though they may not be smarter. I think a lot of people, I think it's obvious based on the content of my content that I really should be in college or something, being educated for something. I know I would be good at it, but instead there's probably some wealthier person there just because they were just in a wealthy family, and I just don't think that makes sense for society, I think. And I'm hoping that's something AI could mitigate. Like I said, AI would kind of screen people and know who should go in college and who shouldn't, and sort all that stuff out. But yeah, I think it should be gatekept, but I don't think it should be based on money. Right? So not entirely the way Europe does it. Although I actually don't really know the way Europe does it, so I guess I could be saying this and that could already be the case. But yeah, I mean, schooling's important, but it has to be schooling that has a tangible effect on the economy afterwards. You can't just be going to school for random things. But yeah, I mean, the truth is there's a lot of capable people who aren't rich. And then if you have that barrier of entry, that doesn't make any sense. So I do think America should be able to afford some kind of free college, but it needs to be very selective. And I'm assuming that really, I mean, it goes against a lot of American premises, I guess, because I guess the hypothetical idea is that the private colleges can still be better. And I think even in Europe, again, I don't know the situation, but it very well may already be like kind of how I'm describing, or they may also have private colleges anyway, and then they're still better than the public options. So I don't really know. I guess I don't know what the solution is, but I do agree that there can't be a monetary barrier of entry for schooling, because there's plenty of bright minds who just can't afford it, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't be educated. So it's a total misallocation of resources, and it all just, again, is structured around, well, if you have money, it works, and if you don't have money, you don't, and nobody really cares, or nobody really pays attention to any of that. I don't know, it's frustrating to me. But I'm hoping that these issues can get fixed with AI, and not that they're just going to get worse. Because I have a feeling it could very well just get worse, and AI could just be used to exploit us even further. That's kind of what I was talking about yesterday. But the reality is it could be used as a really good thing to perfectly organize everything, to get people going to school who should be, get people the right jobs that they should have, all that stuff, So it's important. But yeah, I guess I do agree with that. I guess I do think you should have free college, but I don't know how it works in Europe, but it should be for a smaller percentage of people. It shouldn't just be everybody has access to it. I mean, some people, that's just not what they should do. Some people should just work. So if someone's intelligent, they should go to college. And if not, they shouldn't. And now it's just completely misallocated. And there's such a barrier of entry. It's just a mess. But it may get worse. It may just get worse. I don't really know if any of this stuff is going to be solved. America is a very you're on your own kind of country. At least that's my impression of it. It's just you just have to do your own thing. And I guess that's beneficial to the people who are independent, the people who are better. But to a lot of people, it's just no good. But I think the way it was before was a better balance of that kind of thinking. It was a fairer, better balance. Now it's hyper. Now it's like severe growth, severe inequality, really pushing a lot, like they're really pushing it, really withholding from the lower classes and really just giving it all to the best. And again, the advantage of that is you see the maximum potential of humanity. I've said before, I actually kind of agree with. A part of me likes the hypergrowth, but the lots of pain that it comes with is I just don't know. I'm skeptical of how worth it that is sometimes. Because I care about people too. It's not like I don't feel for that, but I do want to see growth. It's just, I guess I wonder sometimes if it's even being allocated properly, which I don't think it is. I don't think things are being allocated properly. That's like the whole problem, is it just seems structured for rich people, and that's kind of it. And that's obviously no good. So yeah, like I said, I don't know. I feel a little scatterbrained, but I don't think this has been the best quality of episode. I felt like I was really on a roll in the past couple of. This one was just a little bit all over the place, but I don't know, that's okay. I think something of significance was thought of, is that I do think education should be more accessible, but I also think it should be gatekept. I don't think it should just be. But yeah, I do think it's interesting, the amount of resources that exist now where people really could learn more than ever. Poor people now have access to more education than ever possible. Completely for free, too. There's zero barrier of entry. It's the internet. And yet, it's just not being used in that way at all. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I think it's interesting. Because, people complain about a lot of this stuff, and rightfully so, but at the end of the day, in a lot of ways, there hasn't really been a better time to be meritocratic, because you do have a lot of potential to learn and make actions. Well, actually, mainly in the realm of education. It's primarily education that is as good as it is. I don't know that it's for a lot of the other metrics, because you could make the argument life is a little bit crazier now. And so for some people, it's not even what they want, you know? Because with AI and everything, the way you do things is different or weirder. And that's important to note, because it's harder for some people. But if we're just talking about the premise of learning, just the premise of learning, I think things have gotten better. It's easier to learn more now than ever before. Absolutely. Never been a time learning has been more accessible to poor people, but then what's happening? People don't even want to. So I think that's a whole other point, right? We're seeing such a decline in people. And I guess it's because of technology, so that is the rich people putting these things out there for us to get distracted, but it's that same thing that gives a person the potential to be great. You know, I mean, there's so much less. There's limiting factors economically, but I'm saying people choose to use technology in a stupid way. It's not like you have to. I get that there's addicting things shoved in front of everybody's face, but seriously, there's no barrier of entry. I mean, there is such a wealth of information out there. Good, productive, important information. Such a wealth of it. And people just aren't taking advantage of it, and I think that is an obvious problem. It's an obvious issue. And I get that there may not be monetary things in place, but I'm serious. Whoa. Whoa. I'm sure y'all heard that noise. I mean, I don't know if the mic picked it up or not, but yeah, it's such a good point. Because, like, our parents didn't even have access to anything like that. They had access to a better economy, but they couldn't be as smart as a person can be today. But we just aren't using it properly. I don't know. And a part of it could be regulated better. Like I said, TikTok doesn't need to be on the App Store. There could be more rules and structuring the things. But the truth is, you know, if you're smart, you can really get ahead in this day and age. Now, anyways, I do have to go. Sorry I'm overstaying my stay, but I didn't really like this episode anyway. But anyways, thanks for watching. It's been Schla, but now it's time to buy Schla, so see ya, Schla.